That can be you guys kind of a basis, and if you want me to go over any of the actual data. Okay, I'll just. So page one is dog totals for intake, euthanasia, and return to owner. And then the home section for each month on each line. And then below are the euthanasia categories for each. That would be you guys kind of a basis.
Oh,
if you want
Sorry,
to-
hold on, Emily.
Um,
All right, you're good.
And then on page two, you're gonna see basically the same data, except it's taxed and all combined, and then the euthanasia. And I'm also thinking about maybe reordering this or putting it in a different format. See what you guys like. Page three, you're going to have dogs and then cats. That is at the adjusted euthanasia rate. That's based on the euthanasia categories that vary the impact for both dogs.
Can I ask a question?
The euthanasia rate. The variety of transfer that track with your eye. And so essentially, that increased rate would be because many of the nurses couldn't afford to have that or that wanted to take ownership of that. So, it was really, it's been really, it's a shelter and so they created categories of understanding that versus the medical age, which, the animal had a medical condition which does reduce the likelihood of getting placed somewhere, but doesn't nearly improve it.
It's something that, the state, even though they say they're not telling us what education is safe, they just take the options. They could be.
Yeah, I see, that's the largest category.
Yes, it is.
And, so if you, for example, with page 4, which is cat, it's the same as page 1 for dog. We're gonna see a lot of, medical, ADA, which is a lot of neonates, and that's essentially because, they have to be all playing in 2 hours, but they also have to serve their straight at. So those two combined really create.
I think that the mercy is the new, right? The mercy is just a new. That's what they're going to do.
The,
And medical already, you change that.
it's a bit, they can live in both categories, and the reason being is if the animal is under a pound, it would consider it basically a neonate that it can't survive. So if it's healthy and under a pound, it would be considered a medical PK. But if it also has URI symptoms, which can be really common, outdoor cats specifically, then it would be considered adverse euthanasia because its chances of survival and suffering are so high that it would switch to mercy. It also has URI and another 1.7 lines actually. And so that can confuse that, and then
The neonates are the ones that are 1 or 2 weeks of age, and that's a different situation. The neonates are usually 1 to 2. So that's interesting. I didn't.
and so that's why it's a decision to leave. What we try to do is define would this animal be able to travel by outside of the recently enforced game regulations versus is it something that is because of its, a mercy would be because it doesn't have a strong chance of and to less rating. And the regular control would be
That's something that's different than what I thought, but we can talk about it.
yeah, I'm sure. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, page 3, cat totals. Same thing for dogs, just again, take euthanasia and euthanasia rate and the euthanasia rate. Reason. And then on page 5 of 6 is actually the same as page. So, it's because really it draws down the dogs and cats combined adjusted, which is on, page 6. And so that's going to be the adjusted rates based on. Now to go to page 1 in the next section for dog bites and attacks. This is gonna be dog bites and attacks by district. The first section starts with dog bite. Total number for the city and then separately by district. The next section is dog attacks by district. The next section is dogs deemed potentially dangerous, which is the lowest level. And then this goes back to the front back. Page 2 of 3 is total dogs deemed dangerous by district. And then you go to total number of dog bites, the bite pit bulls per district. Pit bull attacks in the section. And then on page 3 is pit bulls deemed potentially dangerous. And then pit bulls deemed dangerous. And then that last section, one is cat bites and other bites and exposures. And that means that they use exposures for the water. Yes,
I got a question, potentially. Dogs deemed potentially dangerous is 29 so far through June. And of course, that's the lowest level, and then you have, dogs deemed dangerous, you have level 1, 2, and 3. And it's about 4 times as many, so is, I'm on, page.
one of 3 is wrong.
Yeah. So, they don't break out the dogs deemed dangerous by district, I have 1, 2, or 3?
Well,
No.
not on that we do, but just not on.
Is that something you can get down in the weeds with us?
I can check and see what kind of, I'm not sure. If it's a given time, but yeah.
I want to ask, tell me a question. Do you want to know whether they broke it down for district?
No. For the level 1, 2.
Like how many levels?
Oh, okay, yes.
And then I'm gonna add something to that because I know that, because we've talked in the. And make sure nobody happen or so. That if somebody comes in and the dog has attacked somebody in the home or that somebody, this also includes requested
Yes,
euthanasia because the dog is dangerous. Is that correct? And that would be interesting to me. How many are actually brought in and compared to picked up or reported where you guys actually went out? Let me investigate.
any more questions on this section for anyone?
I have a question about dog bites that occur, outside the city limits of Wichita and Sedgwick County. You have, what's the difference in reporting on that, or is there a difference?
Yeah, for sure. So Central County or anything outside of the jurisdiction of Wichita, so it would be names of the other animals as well. They have their own legally developed codes and ordinances in which they need animals dangerous or not. And so while we hold the animals in our facility for those, they are not gonna show up in our reports as we.
They do they do their own beach meeting. And that goes, they have the whole court system.
But you're saying you do take up space? Yes. Same with anything, like any other types of confiscations they have.
Does the municipality pay for that service or not?
My understanding is that, we do have some contracts with those, if they marry.
Okay. Okay. So it would seem like the municipality, or the offenses occurring should be covering for that sort of thing at their taxpayer expense.
And then Sedgwick County also is the same.
Yeah, they all have, separate contracts, they're under a normal, so.
Sounds like a big mess to me.
Or,
Okay.
I guess we're up to this, maybe this next page, 2025 field response rates.
yes, sir.
What does that mean? Because I got lots of people that tell you, now that's nowhere close to what kind of response rates they're getting. So what does that mean?
Great question, George. And actually, hey, let's pull that for next month. We might need to do some more research. I was thinking about that as I was putting that sheet off for the meeting. I don't have a lot of great information about, I know that they pulled us numbers out of our software, but I don't know what qualifies into it. And so let me do some research on that and I can write a full and get back.
Thank you.
While you're looking, would you be able to find out, put the raw data there too, so you 94%.
Of what
Gives us no idea about the actual one.
the totals, yeah. I can tell you it is something that I have been working on and concerned with as well, because we do receive, more 700 calls a week. And so understanding exactly how they're categorized, and then, for example, when we get maybe 5 calls for the same address, is that kind of longer as a spot? And what is the response, on fact.
Be nice to know how many calls you guys do handle.
Yeah,
It's about, when I was looking at the daily average, it was around 40 to 50 a day. And we can't always respond to them. So, and what priority levels those fall into ways to use and sort of
it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and then give us what your priority regulations are, your procedures, you're supposed to. I'm sure we all know which ones. We better go attacking, that's gonna be first priority.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Oh, and just real quick, when I give you guys an update, the maintenance is on schedule, everything is going as planned, and Hawkins seems to be moving up well, and also a shape that helps me that I can. You guys see new construction. I am seeing an uptick and return to.
Can I ask you to repeat that? I could.
No, I have
this.
The kennel maintenance is proceeding as scheduled and everything is working well.
So what was the estimated completion date?
October 24th.
Okay, that's enough.
Oh, sorry.
So
I should be able to say I can't hear.
I know, raise your hand,
Okay.
just raise your hand, then we can do it, okay.
return to owner for dogs and cats has been up a little bit, and I'm hoping that that is due to us trying to work with people with different fees. I am trying to create a community resource center for pet owners. Both whether they're just owners needing things like access to spay neuter surgeries and medical care, as well as people who are needing assistance in retraining their animals. So that's just generally to the public, that if you have or know of those resources, I know we have a lot of great Facebook groups that do some cool stuff. To send those to me, so, and how I can represent those in a way that's official for the public. I'd also like to put our officers, and have some information on them, to be able to get retrained their animals quickly and to make sure they have access. And yeah,
I haven't been moving because I can't hear.
Okay, George, we're going to.
I'll listen to it on the TV. Thank you, George, for trying.
Okay, can anyone else here, are you guys?
It comes in now.
That's so
It
sad.
comes in now.
It comes in now. You got.
Are you having any trouble back there?
I heard it all. Exactly.
Zach, are you having any trouble?
I'm monitoring your YouTube. I set up Emily over there because she could talk to the entire room from over there.
Okay.
Well, I know,
Thank you.
okay, okay. Everyone has got to yell. And then time was screaming. I did not know that there was any issues with the hearing. I'm sorry. Would you able to hear? Vincent, were you able?
Yeah, if a comment will be appropriate.
No. Okay. Okay, now then, any questions about? What she said, I think we've already.
No, we,
Okay, the next up is, we have the people who'd like to speak. The first person to speak is Amy Hartman.
Okay, sitting.
Yeah, just come up here and sit, that'd be great.
Some of you may know me from being out at the shelter and in the public, or being out microchipping the community pets. Cats and dogs for the public. I do an in-home service for a lot of people that can't get out, especially cats, in homes, and dogs. A lot of cats are a little bit more difficult to do. But I also am part of the program, an unofficial group of people that put together a bailout program that helps people get their animals out of the shelter. We call it a bailout. We do crowdfunding through Facebook. And Emily kind of alluded to, that's what they're also doing as well. They're not, actually, I don't think raising the money, but they're actively networking. And we make sure, one of the first things that we do is make sure that it's microchipped before it leaves. One of the requirements for our group is that they will microchip, they will not help. Some of the things, they can't microchip if the dog has not had its rabies vaccine. And we can override that so that it is chipped, so that in between the time that they have to get spayed or neutered, that animal has been chipped in case it gets loose again too. But we're wanting to have more follow-up to make sure that the owners are following up and doing the requirements, or what the requirements were on what their bail was for the fines, which is either spay and neuter and rabies vaccine, and obviously follow up on the city license. But we also need more access to having the list of when the dates of what their release dates are. Or you running into stuff that we're getting last minute stuff that we can't save animals because we can't network them. And we have some amazing people that are on their keyboard and on the phone, they're out there just begging for people to save these animals and get them into rescue groups, into temporary fosters and stuff. To save these animals that are very deserving of having homes. It's not their fault that they fell through the cracks and have a crappy owner or something, or somebody can't come up with the money. And we appreciate the fact that the fines have been reduced quite a bit of time, but still for a lot of people, especially now financially, even $118 is a lot of money for people. I, will spend $1,000 a week sometimes in bail money. And that's through the generosity of people, whether it's $5 or somebody's paying. I have somebody give me $500 from time to time. And it's really appreciated, but we would love to have more volunteers, but we need more access. We need access to go back and network those animals that are behind the doors and get those pictures out there and network, and we still haven't gotten the public access that we need for that.
That's something that, Emily, can you work on that and we'll come back to the next meeting?
Yeah, for sure. I do have a pet project that I'm working on, and that is for a public scanning station that will not, that will be somewhere. I'm hoping for several stations of having a microchip scanner where a lost and found animal could be scanned by a public person with an information setup that we would have after hours. Somebody finds a dog over the weekend and they can't get it to the shelter because the shelter's closed, or it's holiday weekend or something, and they have nowhere to take it and stuff. So this is becoming more and more popular in towns. And we've got some examples that we're going by. And I've got a couple of places that I'm working on to get started with this.
there may be some other organizations that are just trying for it too, but this is just an individual project in mine right now. But microchipping is a huge passion of mine. I want every animal to go back home as much as possible.
What does a public scanning station physically look like? Is this a,
Gonna be probably a poles mounted in the ground, concrete. And have my vision of a metal sign of some kind.
is there something that's already out there, someone's done this?
Yes. Different pictures, some are really primitive and some are more, there's nothing that I have found yet that you can buy. It's already, somebody put together a kit, which is an idea.
You need some engineering
Yeah.
put together.
But they've also got codes on it where you can scan it so that it could go directly to a website to maybe search for that code. Microchip code is the biggest thing is, and because I've gotten plenty of microchip scanners out of my own pocket, is the scanners and them being secure and somebody not carrying them up, obviously. And I want ones that are universal because it doesn't do us any good. Scanner doesn't work on the chip, but they still have a challenge with the Avid microchips. They still are not on the majority of the universal scanners. They have their own unique one. And I do know that one vet, very popular vet in the county, still uses those. So they're not like an old one going away. They're very popular. So, but I found some that are about $100. If we can just get them secure so that they can't be stolen. And I know they're gonna be at some point in time, somebody's gonna think it's fun. So,
What, can you, remember what places have this already? Like what localities or?
Gardner, Kansas has one already, and it's kind of the one that we've got a video on. I mean, we're glad to share that with you guys so that you could look at it. It's not sponsored by the city or anything. This has been some individuals, I believe, that put it together. It may have been a private humane society up there that did it and some of the others, but it's throughout the United States in different cities where they've done this. Again, some of them are very primitive and then others are really nice looking. Biggest thing is having like a cage for the scanner and then you'll have to have somebody who's gonna charge those scanners. Most of them will either be battery operated, or USB. And I've got people, I've bought new scanners to give to other people that go around and we do go out and we'll scan for people.
We are actually putting one at the shelter outside.
You are,
Okay, and it's probably some model that's okay. I think the more we can get out there, the better. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Conley Reese. So, I'm trying to figure out what to talk about. I've been coming here for a while. And I don't really heard to know about changes. I appreciate the time that we both were listening to. You mentioned the time we're ignored or idle, and I haven't appreciated that. And we're still in the situation that we were in when I walked in the shelter over 2 years ago. Moving back here to Wichita. And we hear the same things over and over, working on. And I know there has been changes. What we're hearing back from the community though, is the same information. The same problems with getting out. I know we talk about reducing fees, but over and over and over again, we get people contacting us and there's zero reduction in fees until we get involved. And the individual and the owner should be able to go in there and get that support instead of us having to get involved. And I help with the group that goes in and helps with a lot. There's so many problems with the microchipping. We still have dogs that we always follow up with people. Did they contact you? And so much of the time, they're still not being contacted when they have dogs with microchips. There's still issues with that at the shelter. And I know the other day I was asking about a dog that's sitting at the shelter that hasn't been networked. And I'm not sure why, but it's microchipped. But it came from KHS. It was adopted out there 2 years ago. And I was told, well, we're waiting on WAS to work that microchip and try to contact the owner. I don't know why Kansas Humane Society doesn't step up and help. It's their dog. I know their dog because his name is Cheeseburger. And so I searched Kansas Humane Society. I can almost guess every time with a Kansas Humane Society dog because they name me dogs. And you can search and find it when it was adopted. It's a staff favorite 2 years ago. It's over 4 years old now, so it won't transfer. But for some reason, there's that dog sitting in there at loss. And I was told yesterday that there might be some medical. But it's sitting in there now for 8 days. And who's advocating for cheaper, you know, who's trying to save him? He was a staff favorite 2 years ago. And now he's just sitting there as an unwanted. Those are the dogs that haunt me. Those are the faces. And I pay attention. I'm very aware of every dog on 24 Pet Connect. I pay attention to the numbers. I pay attention, and it's not just numbers on the sheets that you guys got, but it's real dogs. And all the KDA, I know it makes it more difficult. But it almost feels like there hasn't been an attempt to try to make it. I've gotten a lot of dogs out of there with kennel cough, and a lot of times they don't ever show any symptoms. I also just I'm kind of random stuff because, like I said, I feel like I haven't given up. I'm very hopeful. There's things that are going to change. But I felt kind of defeated today, trying to figure out. And but I helped get a dog yesterday, and it was a rescue pull. Every single time we help get a dog out, every single time, they run outside to go to the bathroom. They poop and pee as soon as they get out of those doors. The enrichment that doesn't occur in those buildings, that those dogs go in there and they're stuck in those kennels, and then they're assessed. And yeah, you'll read the assessments when they're pacing. Well, the dog probably needs to go to the vet part of the time. Who is in there that is really looking at what's best for those dogs? I mean, things that go through my head when they euthanize, do they remove that body? Or does it lay there in the corner and the next dog comes in to be euthanized? I've heard that that's what happens. These are pets. These are dogs that have feelings. I know you guys all have and have to understand that there has to be a part of that in there. And it currently, every time it feels like it's ran into a child. And that's what needs to change. So I don't mention the problems with the dogs getting zero interaction almost, what fed once a day. And then because I don't want it to just mean, okay, let's kill them faster. Because we are struggling and we're fighting to get every single one of them out there that we can. Direct adopts we're pushing, and we've gotten quite a few direct adopts. I know the other day someone said, oh, those green signs that they put on that it's adoptable. And there were several, but all 3 of those, I know we got adopted because we were pushing them on Facebook. They also, Kansas Humane Society raised the adoption fee to $225 this month. It's a $75 non-refundable adoption fee now. So in the middle of all this, now we have an increase. More dying. 3 calls closed. And we're raising prices to get those direct adopts for $225, but we die otherwise.
You need to,
I'm done.
thank you.
Tony?
Yeah, finally, I'm sitting here thinking, what I want to talk about. And I don't have anything to say about what you said about things not changing. I'm frustrated with it too. I'm very extremely frustrated with Kansas Humane Society, and I don't think they've got a representative here today, do they?
No, they,
Supposed to be partnering with WAF. And yet, where are they? Now, you guys have sat here and told the numbers, how many dogs came in, how many went home to owners, how many went to rescue, how many were euthanized, how many got sick. Where are those numbers from Kansas Humane Society? Why don't we require they be transparent as with animal shelter? I think there's a whole lot of factors in here that aren't even being looked at. And not only that, we've got other shelters that take in strays. I don't know where people look for the strays, that go to Beauties and Beasts, that go to Lab. Where's their transparency? Do you know how many dogs they have? How many are in their care? I haven't a clue. I've heard Beauties and Beasts has hundreds somewhere. We're supposed to be getting another new shelter, another group coming in. Again, there will be no transparency. I'm not seeing transparency from the shelters they currently have. We don't know how many dogs come in, how many go to owners, how many get rescued, how many spend the rest of their lives there. We don't know that. We know from WAS how long the dogs are there. How long are the dogs at Lab? Do they spend their lives there? We don't know, because nobody's transparent. And I don't understand why Amy and Conley's groups and other groups like them don't try to look into all of that, because the dogs at WAS is only a portion of the problem of the unwanted dogs here in the city of Wichita. I don't understand why they're not going and looking at those groups. Another problem I have with Kansas Humane Society is, why don't they give rabies shots to the dogs that are being adopted? That's a public health thing. Why don't they sell a city license to these new owners? That's a partner with the city of Wichita. I keep seeing on the city of Wichita's boss page, our partners at KHS. They're not acting like partners. And finally, why are Conley and Amy, why are your groups going after the commercial pet breeders? That industry is horrible. The pet stores that are selling sick puppies and what have you. I mean, we used to have people that were looking to try and get the state to make that illegal. Somehow we dropped that ball and we don't seem to care about the dogs that are languishing in these commercial kennels. I'm sorry that KHS raised their fees, but apparently they have to make money somewhere. Anyway, I just don't know, if my dog were to get out and get lost, I'd go to WAS, but can I also go to Lab and Beauties and Beasts, all those places? I don't know. But those are my thoughts for today. Thank you.
We called Diane to come up, but she left the building. So that is that.
Hold on a minute, Vincent wants to say something and he didn't know you had to sign in, so Vincent,
No, I know I had to sign in, what I need to take my pleasure.
you don't want to talk now?
No, that
This should be free time.
The only thing I was gonna mention was that when this room is being used for district advisory board. Access to that.
Okay, well, okay, I'm gonna ask the public, did you have a hard time hearing either Tony or Emily or Amy? Do we still need to get better microphones? George has got 4.
It never hurts when someone's speaking and pulling away from you, that's the
I
problem.
understand.
I hear you guys, but it's just, yeah, when someone's,
Well,
Back is
George, you're gonna
here.
have to get all your microphones working, okay?
Right now,
No. Oh, let's go on to the agenda for new business. I'm speaking on these. Okay, city license issues. The license department has gotten better, okay? They've gotten some things in there. There's something that we need to, I spoke with Steva about one of the situations with the licensing. I went on and I licensed one of my dogs, first time license, and it was pretty good, easy. The bad thing is that I have to remember my key name and a code and a password. And that's gonna be helpful. I'm gonna be calling them every, what was my password? Anyhow, but one of the things that came up that, I guess has to be done through, the ordinance is the fact that many veterinarians, will give a vaccination for rabies at 4 months, but do not want to spay or neuter the animal until 6 months or even later. I've had some veterinarians, my veterinarian has some of the big dogs not to be done until a year. And what happens when the veterinarians fill out the form and take the fee, you had this happen to you. They have to pay the $50 fee, even though they're going to do that. And so even though they're gonna get it done, they still have to pay the $50 fee. Did you pay your $50 fee?
No, not on the new one, no.
Not
Yeah.
the old one,
Not the
okay.
old.
And so, I spoke with Steva, I think I spoke with Jan, that maybe that could be fixed with, and I spoke to several veterinarians, and they thought it would be okay if there was a section on that they could put down, too young to be spayed, and then they would get the $15 fee and not have to pay the $50 fee. Jan, has that been gone anywhere? When I talked to Steva and I talked to you, does that seem, and I think Steva was, maybe you were the one who said it needs to be coming from like an ordinance change, and I said, we can certainly vote on that here to see if that can be done.
I don't think we need an ordinance change, it's just technology and it's just one more thing licensing needs to fix.
Okay, so she was saying, okay.
Yeah,
Someone told me it had to be in the ordinance to change it. Well, I think she said that if it wasn't spayed or neutered, it had to be $50. And so she said it needed to be with the exception of if the animal was deemed either not able to be sprayed or neutered due to health reasons. Like if it's a first time dog comes in, is 15 years old, and you don't want to spay a 15-year-old dog.
She and I clarified that, I told her I think they can move forward without wanting to change.
Okay, so we don't need to make a vote or anything like that. Oh, that's great.
So would the vets then add that on the lot, would that be on their license?
And that's why it's a technology, because it needs to be a box where in their opinion, it's not a good time to do that now.
Well, how hard would it be? Because we do rabies certificates and we, we're kind of low tech at the clinic. And we just add that to our, of course, we're not gonna add it because they would come to us and they're get sprayed or neutered, so that's not gonna be, but can you add just a little box that says too young to be sprayed or neutered?
This would be on the rabies certificate.
Well,
It
Where-
depends on the practice software. If that can be altered, that's probably gonna have to be some sort of additional document that somehow gets attached. Because a lot of that has to do with the practice management software that veterinary is using. That's, there's a stand,
okay, so
could be a.
Yeah, you said
that might be easier. I'm gonna see what my last
Sure,
email was.
okay.
damn, that's just so low tech.
I know.
Seems just so common.
Common sense.
Yeah.
I know.
I like it,
Well, wait till you
because that makes me feel like it's.
And the other thing that I noticed when I was on there, and I sent it to Steva today and you yesterday or today, I can't remember when it was, is that on the licensing, it indicates that if you've lost your tag, the city will reissue a tag, and the city doesn't issue. I think that's for cities, Jan, that have their own tag. Okay, but you wouldn't be able, they couldn't reissue a rabies tag because they'd have to come from the veterinarian. So can that be taken off there? It makes it look like the city's gonna send them a tag.
Steve was looking into that.
Oh, she looked at that, okay. Good. And then the last thing, and I talked to, I'm just letting everyone know, what my thoughts are on the licensing and going in there, is that, we are making it actually a little bit more difficult for the veterinarians to send the license fee in, and more veterinarians that I know of are saying, we're not doing this. Veterinarians that have been sending in license forms, they're not doing it anymore. And so is there a way that we can get that how, you're a vet clinic, what would you like to see happen to having the rate, the licensing being picked up?
Well, it's always best if you work on the honor system with the owner. But we know.
That doesn't work.
It does, well, you know, I don't know what the actual compliance rate for that sort of thing is.
Very well.
You know. I know if I ask my receptionists to handle all that paperwork. I mean, they're all, maybe it's just because I have really hard workers, but if you add another thing on this, like you're asking me to do. I have no troubles getting, you know, good working, and they're following all the rules and dotting all the i's and crossing all the t's without adding that. I guess I don't know what the answer to that is. From the veterinary standpoint, I mean, honestly, it should be about the owner anyway. Doing it, it's not, should be about the vet. Like being the, you know, the policeman on that sort of thing. But, because we're kind of deputized by the city. And we're not being compensated for the time it takes to do all that stuff. I mean, that does start to add up. So.
I do know, I'm sorry, but
No, it's, I don't know what the answer to that is. I mean,
we used to have, there was a time when veterinarians were sitting in the paperwork to us. And, I know, Tony, you were on the licensing committee, and when we did our check, I think almost all the other cities had veterinarians turning in the license forms. Then we did a research on licensing, and we researched 5 or 6 different cities, and they had veterinarians sitting in the license forms, because it's been a known fact that if you walk out the door, that's just drops.
Do you think, if you had a convenience fee, that your customers would do it? But you have enough customers that if you, like, concierge, I'll do it for you.
It's, yeah, that's a delicate situation, even if it's like $2, it's like, you're a nickel and dime.
Yeah.
I mean, I have enough troubles with people thinking my fees are too high. And then, you know, because I had some things like, you know, medical waste fee or regulatory fees and all that stuff. I don't have too many people complain, but those complain, they're loud and obnoxious. Like,
Because they wouldn't have to do it, it would just be for people who wanted you to do. Would be my, and I would make it high enough that it's worth your while to
Yeah.
do it, but.
I know that my veterinarian
yeah, I
actually did that, but
suppose.
she's dropped that since, okay? Because I paid $2 for that to process it, because I didn't, then I walked out the door, it wasn't gonna get done very fast, but you know, I was, that's gonna go out of my brain. But, well, one of the things that Steve was said that they were taking from the veterinarians was just simply printing off the rabies certificate, like the blue form, where they would send in the blue form to the city, and just sending it off and marking it, paying so much, and then putting it in, and I said, you'd have to give them a manila envelope, because that's gonna be a lot bigger, and the postage page, and she said that some of the veterinarians were doing that. Would that be?
That's how we used to do it a long time ago.
Well, we used to do the little blue form, you know, but now, I'm just saying, you have to, put it in your system, it's already in your system, you can just print out that rabies certificate, put it in a file, and then mark how much they paid, $15, and then send that in. She said some of the veterinarians would do that, but I don't know how many are, but it'd be nice if we could have her come and talk to us sometime to answer that.
That's a good idea.
Maybe we can ask her to be at the next meeting, because the whole point of working on the licensing was to increase the numbers of animals that are licensed. And if we're not increasing the numbers of licensing, then there's something wrong. Now, I tell my clients at Spay Neuter, that, if you license it, and we're looking at, we're gonna start gathering, and we're gonna start taking the license in. But I say, look, you know, if you get your dog licensed when they come to us, they're already sprayed, we get them vaccinated for rabies, so everything, it's a microchip. And since they're microchipped, licensed and microchipped and have the rabies and are spayed or neutered, I said that, you know, you take, especially the microchip, if it goes to the city and they have it on their records that they, you know, it's licensed here, they pick up the dog, they scan the chip, they know exactly who the owner belongs to, they can contact them. And sometimes they have been sending, I haven't they been doing that, I've heard a couple people say, yeah, they brought the dog back to me. I think they wrote them a ticket for a running large, but the dog did not have to go to the animal shelter. So that's a plus if dogs can be returned to the owner for two reasons, better for the dog and better for the shelter because it won't have to take that dog in there and it won't go into all the issues.
I'll talk to my practice manager and see if her opinion is different than mine.
Okay, is there any way, because I think that we need to start to talk about what we can do, because that was the biggest thing that we talked about. How can we get the veterinarians on board as it used to be a long time ago? Where they just automatically sent the little blue slip in with the money, and now we don't have a little blue slip, so perhaps maybe the rabies certificate would suffice, which means they don't have to write out the blue slip, they just have to print out the rabies certificate, an extra rabies certificate. And then put it in, and then it's just as long as the city pays for the envelope and all the postage.
I think if the city would make a little wicker basket with goodies and treats in it for my staff, they would be on board with it.
Oh,
They love candy and cookies.
So what should
So I
we
mean,
do?
it's so easy, you say if you feed them, they will come.
Well, we can think about that. What do you think? We can think about that. We can have,
Well,
maybe
I mean, I'm
even
just-
have a
I'm
reward for
spitballing
the
it.
veterinarian that does the most and they can get
Well,
a meal or something.
yeah, okay, yeah, I mean, I could be.
Make a contest out of it. That's a good idea.
Honestly, yeah, but they will bend over backwards for a bag of chips. You know?
I'm not gonna tell you so about that.
You know,
Well, that's a good idea. That's something that, is like,
Just going in minutes.
that's one in the minutes, yes, or no, it's one in the minutes, no, that's a good idea. Okay,
Is the microchip information things that you involve, or is that?
well,
You just hope.
if the dog is microchipped, where we're at, we write the microchip on the rabies certificate. If it's not microchipped, it's not. Did you find out anything more about the microchip not being?
Now I see where I sent it to her and gave her my opinion that we should move forward without charging the extra. But I don't know that I have, maybe we can talk on the phone. I'll check in.
Okay, so we'll check it out. Okay, good. Okay. So that's the situation. I think there's some improvements. But there still needs room for more improvements because our whole goal was. If they walk out the door, that's why I think. Tony talked about the Humane Society should be giving rabies vaccinations and licenses. The only downside that I can see that would be, Emily would be. They get a license fee. And they should wait before they turn it in because sometimes the dogs come
The
right
thing
back.
about rabies is that I don't know what the statute is, but has to be administered by a veterinarian.
Well, they can, and see, but they administer that, and I would assume that we would say the veterinarian.
Or under veterinary
Yeah,
supervision,
yeah.
if you've got one on premises, and that's enough. Indirect supervision.
Well, they do rabies clinics. They have a veterinarian, they'll do a rabies clinic and they'll do the rabies vaccination
Yeah.
there for free rabies, so that should be. Okay, anyone has any other thoughts? You good?
If they do the clinics. Can they do more, and the microchipping and rabies, can they? How could they submit the license? Or could you have someone there that they do?
Well, we tried that when we did the free microchip and rabies in the clinic and they didn't have the staff to do that. So we sort of did that and we licensed, we got the thing, we didn't pick up the license size, would depend on whether that would be.
That's just something to think about.
But I think that even before, even if they didn't pay for their license, we send in a little blue form. And then the city had that information, it would just say they have to pay their license and they could send out a reminder. They used to do. Yeah, because I forgot to pay mine, yeah. Shame on you, I know, I went down to pay, but you can't be on this board, you didn't pay your license. Okay,
Sorry.
the next thing is, repeat offenders, what is our time? I'm trying, oh, really good. Repeat offenders. Emily, I think we discussed the dog that, has been picked up and picked up. You picked it up 3 times, other people picked it up, it's always been at large.
Yes.
And it keeps going back to the person that keeps getting out, and they keep saying, oh, my dog's lost, and someone finds it and it returns it, or sometimes it goes to animal shelter, or sometimes it goes someplace else, and they ended up giving it back, and they go, this is like going on. What can we do about repeat offenders? I know that right now, it is, if you have 3, if your dog is picked up 3 times in 3 months, they will get a citation, correct?
Oh, I did not know that, but that probably learned my units.
I was told that that's what happened, that's what happened.
Okay.
Is there something that we could do? I mean, what do you guys think about people who just continually, I mean, I will tell you that there was a lady down the street from my clinic, from the clinic, I should say it's my clinic, that it was a Great Pyrenees, and it was out all the time. I picked it up 3 times. I picked it up twice and went to the animal shelter twice.
I
And,
mean, if it's running a hard, we can issue a citation regardless.
but it keeps getting picked up. And
Each time, each time it's a new citation.
And does it go up?
I don't.
I don't know if there's is there a citation written, or is it just they go pick it up and pay the fees and then walk away? Because I don't think there's a running at large citation when they pick a dog up. Is there?
Sometimes.
It should be.
On the first one, I think they give them a break.
We try to work with people as best that we can, and sometimes that, like, if the officer picks up the dog and it's got a microchip, they would write a citation or do anything, you just try to get this. Event to the animal, but they can write a citation for any large, right?
Well, I've had some people like it happened to me because I was always picking up this dog in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
And, but it happened to, it happened to a dog that's been, yeah, and it's gonna find other places. And it's still probably gonna come back somehow, it's gonna be found. And the sad thing was, is that, you know, they had another dog that's different from the black dog, and they just let it away, and then, you guys said. But the problem, I thought that if it was, I thought there was something that said the first time it comes in, it's worth this much, the second time it comes in, it's more, the third time it comes in, it's even more. Is
It's
that-
not always on it. You may have different animal service officers who do it different, but there's no policy like that.
Yeah, I don't visit that.
There are graduated fines in court.
Okay, they have to go through court, okay.
If they're
That's
ticketed, you're paid the landlord, so, and they're graduated.
Well, my thought is, what's best for the dog? Are they, just totally being ignored? Or,
And I'd like to equip the officers with, like I said, more community resources. Because we have a lot of people that are doing lots of good things, and so it's a thing we have to go with, it's something that we can help with them, so that they can have that responsibly.
because it would have to be an investigation and you can't, investigate what you didn't see. It's a sad situation.
There are there are costs. I know we focus on the fines at loss, but some of the court costs, they get astronomical. And so if you have a repeat offender, and I've had good contact with them and then follow up after court. And we're talking people that have $1,000 court fines. Like it's not that it doesn't exist. It gets pretty astronomical. And those are the repeat offenders. It doesn't happen unless you've got a dog that's got multiple citations, but very definitely have. It's crazy. I've just had them send me their court costs, and I was thinking,
Really? Because I know that I'm gonna check into the court costs. What are the court
I
costs?
think she must mean fines and costs.
Yeah.
Okay.
and it's the fines. It's the committee's fines in court for
But
running a
my,
large.
my
citation.
thought is that if they own a dog and they can't keep it in, they should not keep being taken back, should not continue to be brought back. Or they should not continue to, because what's going to happen to that dog, the dog's dead, is very large, is it going to end up like the shepherd did, dead on the street? Does it going to cause an accident? So I think if this is a repeat offender and they can't seem to keep that dog in, then maybe they shouldn't do it. That sounds terrible. there's another place for it to go.
I think they'll go through the court system and they'll get fined, and that's supposed to be something that will deter them, because eventually they're not gonna pay. I mean, I think to answer, I don't think it's necessary, I just, as it's out of my wheel, it's not my lane, I'm an attorney, but I don't know that they're necessarily bad, and this is a person who prosecuted that docket. It's a person with a dog who got old and did crazy things. It's, you have different kind of people that have different kinds of problems, and you can't paint it all with one brush and say they're all bad owners. Some of them have bad dogs, some of them have dogs that went insane because they got old. My dog ate the wall, the whole. I just think you have different
So
circumstances.
that's why I said you have to
And
really look at.
no, so there are no prosecutors can get into the head of the dog and the owner. So all you can do is deter it the best you can with penalties as they did now. Right.
Here it is, excuse me, here it is right in our ordinance. Any person who is convicted of a charge of animal running at large shall be punishable with a maximum fine not to exceed 1,000 and/or jail sentence. And then it says upon a first conviction, fine of not less than 100 and not more than 1,000. Upon the second, 200 and 1,000, and 300 and 1,000. So it's already in our ordinance. So running at large. So
But do they actually go to court? Do they?
But
It was 2 or 3 times they usually go.
And that's a judge assessing that.
Yes.
That's fine.
well, no, there's court costs on
it's
top of it.
mandatory, they have,
You don't-
if they're convicted, you'll usually have a plea bargain, because usually it's not just a run at large. I will say, although I just defended and said some people are good owners, a lot of the run at larges also go with no license, no,
Chip.
no chip, no,
No spare neuter.
spare neuter. So it's usually a package deal, and you'll see prosecutors do some plea bargaining to reduce some of the charges to make it affordable. If you make fines too high, people don't pay them at all, there's no hope. If you get a fine for $2,000, you're not gonna make even a $20 payment on it. If you get a fine that's a few hundred, couple, 200-300, people will try to pay those, is what we found. That's why, but we did institute the graduated fines to try to deter people from being there again.
And what I'm finding when I have people, when I have, dogs come in with city vouchers. To the shelter, I mean, to the spanker. It used to be that, they would call and say, I've got the city voucher and I've got a court date to go to. And I said, well, let's get everything done. And then when you go to court, you take all these papers with you and it's all done. Unless they have been issued a running at large, if there's a ticket, they always have a court date. If it's not a dog that came with the city voucher, if it's a ticket, they have a court date. If it's a city voucher where the dog was there, they don't have a court date. They don't, and I think that they don't have a court date, and I don't know why. Because it used to be, and I don't know what's been going on, but it used to be that especially when a pit bull was running at large, because of the nature, I don't know why they brought out pit bulls, but, that they always would get, because it was mandatory that they were spayed and neutered in kennels. So there's a mandatory special management pit bulls. And they always got a citation, and they're not doing that now. I don't know why, because I'll have people come in, I'll say, what's your court date? We don't have a court.
And that might, I don't prosecute anymore, so I don't know what's happening in court. That might not be an animal services thing. It might be the judge just gives them the fine without, in the old days, no. In the old days, we would continue it until they went and got the work done. But then the dockets got so big, waiting on the work to get done, when all of the vets were behind, they didn't have very many low-cost vets. So the judges got tired of waiting on it, so they would just issue the fine without waiting to get the work done. That's kind of where it's, as I left prosecution, it's where it's starting to move to. Because there was a shortage of low-cost vets that could do the work. We weren't waiting 6 months for it to get done, and then they never did it anyway. They just worked out a plea bargain and pushed him through.
Well, I just had some people concerned because they said these people are just for retrieving tenders, this dog's always out, it's always running. You pick it up, they go pick it back, they, go get it to the shelter and bring it back, but then it's out again, and they're getting tired. And so, I don't know, if that's something to think about. That's been a complaint that's been brought to my attention. And then the last thing on the agenda is, I'm gonna use that.
One
Oh,
second.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. I'm just new. When we were doing the dangerous dog back years ago, I always asked the question, well, what is this dog that's running at large you're talking about? Is it Fluffy, who would lick you to death, or is it a more aggressive dog? And I think those two need to be weighed into it. If it's just a dog that would never hurt anyone, even if we provoke, then I think you need to think about it a little different than a dog that's getting out and could hurt or harm somebody or another animal. So I think that needs to be in, and I asked about it back then and they said, no difference between Fluffy. Actually, the chairman of that dangerous dog got a little upset with, there's no difference between Fluffy or a more dangerous dog or aggressive dog. And I really believe there is or should be, but that is my 2 cents.
I think something that you all, and you've been. This is, it doesn't matter whether it's Fluffy or whether it's Cujo. If it's out in the post office van, postal service sees it, it's a bone, and they lose their license, I mean, they lose their postal service, and it's, you know, I had to tell a neighbor, hey, your dogs are not on a leash. I said, you're in the front yard and you wanna have everybody keep you because you're gonna lose their postal service, I mean, we've already got the thing, but we gave the people behind them. And so that's something that people need to think about. And one of the things we need to do is to not have dogs running at large. It's not good for the dogs. It's dangerous for the dogs.
Well, it's like I told you about my neighbor. And his kids kept letting the dog down. About 3 weeks later, it was killed. You know, got it by dog. Yeah.
Oh, any other questions? I'm just bringing.
I think it's going to change the people behind those dogs.
Right.
That's really where it's gonna start, and then society ain't getting, I'm sorry to tell you, it's getting,
But
my 2 cents.
That's in Micklesworth.
Okay, sorry.
well, sometimes
I see more, I'm seeing more aggressive dogs in the practice.
we are.
I was like, where did these all come
I think that was also.
And socializing COVID dogs.
And during COVID, you want to offer socialist property.
from? And I blame the, like, it's blame parents for the acts of the children, but I sometimes I blame the owners for just being irresponsible. And how can you legislate the irresponsibility? You
Well,
can,
you can legislate for some.
you can find them, but then they won't be fine. You're not gonna change it, you gotta change it, that's one.
Okay. I'm gonna hand out a copy of our bylaws today. And we're gonna discuss the bylaws at next, once you look at what we have down as the bylaws now, you're gonna see some obvious things because the name is wrong. And it says we meet every month and we don't meet every month. We need to update the bylaws. So I'd like everybody to read through these. Become prepared at the next meeting to discuss it and have any ideas as if you think something needs to be changed or deleted or added. Then I think Jan, you'll be at the next meeting, won't you? Because we don't want to add a whole bunch of stuff to this. We can't do that.
Well, could we kind of do maybe what we did on the flyer and maybe send you what we think? So
No, I think
No?
what I want you to do is just come and we can discuss the bylaws. These are very short. I looked at them and
Ellen, I just wanted to add one thing. These bylaws, we've been trying to change for years and they should have been, but right now, think about this, people. A new chairperson will be elected in August every year. We don't even meet in August, but it's August. Let's do that right now. Let's go ahead.
No, well, we're gonna do there's a lot of just simple things, there's a lot of just simple things that we need to look through. And the more we're on the board, y'all, we can some just figure them, okay? If you have questions, I'm sure you'll be able to come next meeting.
Yeah, and I would suggest on those less is more. The block format is not useful. It'd be nice to have a bullet point format when you give them what you want. Just where they're easy to, I know they're not long, but if there's a format you could use, it'd be a lot easier.
A different format.
use for everybody.
That's good. Look on that.
And there's also one other thing, there's an ordinance in Title II that gives you some, but I'll be here next time and I'll have it because you might have a few suggestions that run counter to that ordinance, because the ordinance says that there's a few ways you can do things, and I'll be sure to bring it.
Could you send us a copy of that ahead of time?
I'll send you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Can I just,
Yes.
I met with the city manager's office and they're also coming out with some new stuff for the board meetings, so you might want to check with them, because he was working with them about new.
Yeah.
Training stuff, new things for boards, so we might check with them. I think you guys.
Yes.
I, yeah. I'm talking to-
Yes. Okay. All right.
We have a short meeting.
Okay, so then update, old business update.
The flyer changes have been submitted to the police. Hear from the
Are there any other issues, updates from board members and districts?
I have five things, real quick, no, I'm from the East Coast, so I'll be quick. Number one, in our, our minutes from last meeting, Theo Harris asked Walker if the shelter was getting closer to issuing licenses and rabies shots. Walker said there are barriers and would be happy to address them at the next meeting. Those to your point, this is the next meeting, so now it's 4 months later. I hope he has something for us, so I'm done with that, but thank you. Dog parks. I've been talking about this. I know I talked with Emily, and Emily really doesn't have anything to do with dog parks. They're through the Parks Department. But I want her and Reggie, who's over the Parks Department now, to keep in touch with Emily about the status of dog parks. So because I'm the president of the neighborhood where Clap Parks is, they started a new dog park. People asking me about it, they know I'm on the dog park and I'm the president of the neighborhood, and I have to look stupid. I don't need any help doing that. I can do it on my own. So, but if he could tell her, because I keep calling, talking to my city council who says, I'm having a meeting today, but they don't tell me what the meeting. So if you could find out through Reggie, I'd appreciate that. At least my dog park, but maybe all the dog parks. And I wanted to say, I was in Ace Hardware the other day, and one of the biggest problems we've always had is that we couldn't hear these people, our board members, what we're voting. So I think everyone on our board should have one of these, and when they're in the affirmative, whatever, they could raise up their hand so everyone knows who's voting what. It needs to be loud and proud. All right, number 4. 10 years ago, this board was established. 10 years ago in July last year. We've done a lot of things, and there's gonna be something coming up on that. And then the last thing, I had a meeting today, and there's some cupcakes back there, and then also some pretzels from Southwest Airlines. Please get those before you leave. That's it. Thank you.
That's it. Anything else? My goodness.
I got Ellen a little one. I got the big.
Okay, look, like it. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to approve.
Second? All those in favor? Give me that. Yeah. Okay. I think